As God was bored, he needed a challenger, he needed an adversary, he needed someone to challenge him, to go against his agenda. Everything was working too perfectly, and he created the garden, but nothing was happening. They were just sitting there. It was so boring, it was so lame, but then he had an idea for theater. As in, Lucifer would then create beings, angels. He would also create a character that he would act as. Because of his intense speed and power, he was able to just duplicate himself or run around so fast they would see after images. So Lucifer could appear beside the god, and vice versa. As Lucifer would be this beautiful angel, this angel that everyone loved. He was smart, charismatic, but also was kind of depressed sometimes and desperate for attention. He loved playing this character, but as time grew, it just got too boring. As he watched the humans, they didn't do much, but then he had an idea. As he would make up some fruit of knowledge and tell them not to eat it, and put it next to them and tell them it would kill them. It was all very funny to him. As then, he didn't really know what to do next, but then he had an idea. As he would use Lucifer to try to, get them to take a bite of the apple. But nothing really happened until one day he actually got them to eat it. Then he could do his fun experiment. As he used Lucifer to get a bunch of people to leave and build up his own kingdoms. He would rule 2 kingdoms and watch them over like a TV show, not really interfering. He wouldn't rule with an iron fist, he would just watch for entertainment. There was a human world, there was hell, there was heaven, there was so much hierarchy, so much drama, he would love it, but needed an actor to help him. As one day he would find an angel, Lilith, as he would show him. God would show Lilith both of his forms. As God and Lilith would have a discussion, Lilith would pretend to be his wife when he was in Lucifer's form. As he would try to use magic to create a kid, time would pass, centuries, thousands of years. God would enjoy it. People thought God was too busy to rule heaven. After all, he did create Earth. Well, people thought Lucifer was too busy to rule hell. After all, he's trying to rebel against God. Little did they know that they're the one and the same. This tickled God more than anything. He enjoyed it. And he always watched. He had TVs installed which just showed normal people's lives, and then the lives of angels and sinners. And then they keep inventing these new things. Humans were so interested with all their inventions. Well, hell and heaven was so interested with all their fights. He just wanted entertainment. That's all he wanted. As then we cut to God, aka Lucifer, raising Charlie. As God was very interested in the world around him, he was also interested in being a father. So one day he would use magic to create Charlie. As Charlie would grow up under God's roof, pretending to be Lucifer. Lucifer would actually be there more for his daughter, ironically, since he wasn't depressed that Lilith left him, because Lilith would never leave because she was just an actor. As God would actually enjoy spending time with her. And he would watch TV all the time, mostly humans. Every once in a while he would watch angels or demons. Ironically, humans were the most fun to watch because of their creativity, because of their imagination. Angels and demons simply did what they did. They didn't have much of an imagination. But he also wanted them to be entertaining. One day he had an idea, as then he would go to heaven in his God form. His normal form, I guess. As he would go to Adam and Sarah and say that hell's becoming too overpopulated. I've been spying on it recently. Of course, hell was overpopulated with sinners, but he can easily change the laws, allow them to go to other rings. But this will create less conflict. Sinners fight each other constantly because they don't have enough territory because of his rules. If he changed it, he wouldn't have entertainment, and that wouldn't do. So God would say that he wanted an exorcism, as in the exorcism would begin, as God would watch and delight each time. But something would happen, something surprisingly, as one day Charlie would start to cry, as he would say, "What's wrong?" in his Lucifer form. Then Charlie would say the extermination, it destroys so many people, so many innocent people gone forever. God hasn't thought about that in a long time. God acted like he had emotions, but the long time he really didn't. He was depressed, bored. That's why he created everything, just to have some enjoyment, just to enjoy something. But this personal connection, it felt real. As then he would talk to Charlie and say, "All right, I'm sorry about that. Maybe you can do something." Charlie would say, "Yeah," as then she would leave. As then years would pass, not really much would change. Lilith would stay with Lucifer since Lilith was just a hired actor in this timeline and never really loved Lucifer. Maybe like in canon, but we'll have to see for season 2 about that. As things kept continuing on like normal though, eventually Charlie would start her hotel, as then God would smile gleefully, excited to see this drama. As God sat back. As he watched the TV with Lilith, he would watch angels destroy demons and watch other things like that, as Lilith would say, you are very messed up. If you're bored, why don't you just create something more fun? After all, can't you create anything? Yes and no. Yes, I could create anything I want. I have the power. But it would destroy the things I have here. I'm very invested. And sometimes I like to enjoy the little things in life. After all, if you can destroy anything, create anything at your fingertips, it becomes boring to do so after a while. Like eating the same food over and over again. I guess, you're the only one who knows about that. She would then say, so, how are you here always? Like, before anything existed? Were you just sitting there? What did you even do? As then God would think to himself and say, you don't want the answer to that. There's some things that I don't tell anyone. He would then look at his hands, thinking about something. As Lilith was shocked, as then God would sigh and say, let's not worry about that. As then time would continue, as eventually God would go up to heaven as Charlie brought the meeting up there like in canon. But in this timeline, God would hide himself until things started to really build up, as then he walked in and said, silence! Was shocked. They haven't seen him in a while. As Emily would say, is that God? He's finally back? Sarah would say, you're back for this? What is the meaning of this? As everyone would be quiet, even Charlie. His aura felt familiar though, but she didn't say anything. He had such a holy look to him. As then God would take a deep speech and say, listen, I've heard what is said, and I have a compromise for both of you that I feel like could work. As then God would point at Adam and say, Adam, you are an exorcist, correct? You come down here and destroy these sinners, wipe them off the face of the earth. Is that correct? Adam would say, yeah. Do you like doing it? Adam would smirk and say more than anything, as Charlie would get scared, as then God would walk up to Charlie. God was a bit more attached to Charlie than the rest, because God actually raised Charlie. As then Charlie would then look and say, yeah? As he would say, you want to redeem sinners, yes? Well, we will allow you to redeem sinners on the only condition that you don't get wiped out by Adam. We're changing the contract. Adam would say, heck yeah. As then Emily and Sarah would say, can you do that? I don't really care. Whoever wins gets to decide their point of view. There, problem solved. As then God would walk away. As then Sarah would say, well, you heard him. As then this would shock everyone, as Charlie would go down to the hotel and start to train and start to prepare. Everything was going like planned, but something was off. As God would talk to Lilith, he would say, how's your subordinate? Alistair? I got him to watch the hotel like you asked. Why? As God would say, I don't know. I should talk to him. If I talk to him, then, well, maybe I can. No. I've been relying on others for too much. It's time I actually do something. As then, he would go into his Lucifer disguise and wait. He would hold back heavily, of course, not wanting people to show how strong he really was. As then he would continue to wait until the battle happened. As he started to feel conflicted, part of him just wanted to watch. God would just continue watching the battle, confused of what to do, until he stepped in and showed them both his two forms. Everyone was shocked. They thought it was some sort of trick. It took a while, as Adam would say, what? I'm the same person. All of this has just been a lie. Just for fun, just for entertainment. Do what you want with that. As then he would just leave. Some exorcists kept on fighting. Others just left. But the world was changed. Heaven and hell didn't have such high hostilities anymore. In fact, both of them hated their rulers, and oftentimes acted like they didn't have one. Of course, no one would try to dethrone Lucifer or God, because one, they're the same person, they're really strong, but they both hated them now. And both societies lived to rule on their own. And there was even talks about merging heaven and hell, but that would be a tale for another day. Leave things off. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. And before anyone gets mad in the comments, well, they probably already have, but The God in the Has Been show is different from the Bible one. Now, they do share some similarities, but there is a difference. And this was not about making fun of that one at all. I know this might be seen as offensive to some people, but this is just a silly what if video about fictional characters, not the ones from any religion. I just wanted to point that out. I just wanted to say that. I'm not trying to make a statement. I'm not making a theory. I'm not even, saying anything about that. This is just a wacky video about characters in a show. And Has Been Hotel, Visipop did confirm that God exists. He also said it was a woman, but I said he, and I remembered halfway through, so I was like, oh well. But yeah, later on, I definitely will refer to it as that. And for some reason, all the fan art of this character, it's a male, so I don't know. Interesting, but yeah. I think it makes sense for God to be a woman if it did have a physical form, because, we are its children. But yeah, also, I want to ask a question. I don't know if it's offensive or not, but so if you're like a Christian, or if you have like a belief, or maybe you're a Hindu and believe in gods or whatever, what did God do before he created the universe? Because he's always been here, right? He's eternal. So what did he do before then? Did he just sit here and do nothing? Does it ever talk about that? Is there any theories or anything? What do you think he did before he created the whole universe? Or she, you never know. She, it, whatever. What do you think it did before the entire universe was created? Did it just sit there? I've never understood that. Because, it's eternal, right? God is eternal in, every religion and mythology, in most, at least. The God's eternal, right? So, this God, whatever God that you believe in, and before someone comments there's only one God, there's many different religions with many different gods that are still alive to this day. So, yeah, whatever God that is, what did it do before the universe was created? Because I'm generally kind of want to know. I don't know if there's, lore for certain ones, or maybe not, but yeah. Also, no matter what religion you are in, I love you and thank you for coming here and thank you for supporting me. I love you all very much, and I don't like to talk about religion so much, but the only reason I'm talking about it right now is because I feel like I kind of had to, because, well, I know some people will take offense to this, and if so, if you want to unsub, I definitely understand. But like I said before, I did not mean to take this to a bad territory. I did not mean to offend any of you. This is simply about a character in a TV show. That is it. I'm not trying to make any statement or anything like that. So yeah. So before I go, I just want you to know that I love you, I support you, and I'm glad you're here, and you mean the world to me. Peace out.